Hi, I'm Gaynor Dickerson, and I'm going to show you how I painted the rough leaf of a Californian flannel bush in colour pencil. I have already painted the flower and a little bit of the leaf, most of which I've started with the shadows in Mauve, which is a Faber 249. Most of the pencils I use here are Faber. I'm using chrome oxide green 278 at the moment, and I'm carefully filling in where the veins will be, and I'm using tiny strokes to do this. My pencils are always kept very sharp, and I either use a pencil sharpener, a rotary one, or I use a rough piece of paper to sharpen it a little bit more. I'm very careful with the veins to start off with, because I don't want them to be occluded by pencil completely, but they need to be realistic. You can see most of the work I'm doing at the moment is with the chrome oxide green. The surface of the leaf is quite rough as well, but I'll come back to that. You see, I used a putty rubber just in that section there because I wanted to change the direction of the vein. I didn't feel that it was in the right place. If you want to lift out colour, you can never do it completely once you've got colour onto the paper. But you can remove a lot of the colour by gently using a putty rubber. The reason I use tiny strokes is so that I fill the tooth of the paper. If I don't do that, then white gaps will be left, and particularly if it's a smooth surface I want to achieve, then those white gaps will be a bit of an eyesore. I'm using Van Dyke Brown now, and now I'm back to the chrome oxide green. You can see round the edge of the flannel bush leaf that it's a little bit darker. That's because the edge of the leaf curls in a little bit. The leaf itself is slightly thickened along the edge. I spend a lot of time on marking where the vein should be. At the moment I'm using permanent green olive. That was 167. Back to the darker pencil at the moment. That's a mauve you saw in between there, and I always have green on top of the mauve if I want a green leaf. The lighter green was earth green yellowish 168. Now you can see how I'm trying to be very careful about where the veins are so that they're clean. I've doing a little bit more on the left leaf because I wanted to increase some of the contrast a little bit. I put in the mauve and then a little bit of permanent green olive on top. Now I'm back to using the chrome oxide green on the right hand leaf. Very carefully doing the veins again, but also there are some markings in the leaf that I wanted to make sure were clear there. When I paint leaves, or anything for that matter, I always start off with the darkest colours first. In this instance I'm using mauve first, then the chrome oxide green, then the permanent green olive, and then the earth green yellowish as you see here. I've also used an earth green 172, and now you can see me using a Derwent colour. There are two Derwent colours that I use extensively because you can't get such pale colours in the Faber-Castell range, and these are Distant Green 4140 and Sky Blue 3400. The Distant Green I use furthest away from me because it is a green that has a little bit more blue in and fades away. The Sky Blue I use as a reflection from the sky. So I sometimes have that instead of white of the paper, but not always. So now you can see all the colours that I'm varying in using. All the ones that I've mentioned. And the fresher colours get put on top. You saw me use a little bit of white there as to tone down a little bit of colour. If I have a very little white on top of a colour, then I can often increase the colour that I use on top of it, but I can only do that once because white acts as a resist. There you saw me using something called a cadmium yellow lemon 205. Now, I often use this on top of greens because it helps to liven them up a little bit. So if I feel that it's getting a little bit dull, I will use that to lift it a bit. On the edge here, I'm doing the roughness of the leaf. I don't want a shiny leaf as such. There is some light reflection. Now you can see I'm dotting the colour on. I'm using dabbing strokes, generally in the direction of the veins of the leaves. Here and again on the edge of the leaf I've used a little bit of brown, the Van Dyke brown, and there I used a little bit of Venetian red as that seemed to be coming through on the leaf. Now I'm doing the underside of the leaf. I generally use a couple of colours here in most leaves, and that is the earth green that I've already mentioned, but also another Derwent colour which is light moss, but here I'm using other colours as well, and this one is Nougat, which is 178. Because the underside of this leaf is very flannelly. This is where you get the idea of the name of the plant, flannel bush. And again I'm doing the dabbing strokes, but there's a lot of form on the underside of this leaf where it's curled up. And again a little bit of brown on the edge because to show the thickness of the leaf. There was an area where I felt I'd gone over with colour too much, so I've lifted it out with a little bit of low tack tape and gentle use of an embossing tool. But this is the leaf finished. I hope you've enjoyed it.